sa karanasan mo po, tingnan ba nakasalanan ng dito?
Media educators and journalists call to defend press freedom.
This corruption in media won't be reduced to
Good evening, you're watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel. Today we're joined by three editors-in-chief of the top men's magazines in the country. He is editor-in-chief of Esquire magazine. He is Erwin Romulo. He's the editor-in-chief of Uno magazine, RJ Ledesma. Everybody knows RJ, di ba?
Yeah.
Hi, Mom. Dad, yeah.
Pretty much.
He is the managing editor of FHM magazine. He is Alan Hernandez.
Hello.
Okay, thanks guys.
Hey.
What is it a good time to be in a men's magazine today? Let's
Yeah.
start with Erwin.
No, and it's a healthy industry now. I mean, there's just more titles coming up, and there's and as RJ was we were niching now. I mean, there's just a lot of men are more interested. Traditionally, you thought women bought magazines.
Correct.
But like the title I work for, Esquire, we've been publishing for 80 years. We're celebrating our 80th year this year. So it's just come to the Philippines.
What sells magazines? Men's magazines.
Well, it's the cover essentially.
Alan?
Yeah, it's the cover. I'd be lying if I said it's not the cover.
Is that the content?
I would be lying. It's the cover. It's the women on the cover, and we just make sure that we have all the bases covered as far as men's interests are concerned in the content.
That's right.
Sabi ni RJ kanina off the air, it's going towards niching. What do
Well,
you
I
mean?
think niching just means that the entry point for any men's magazines locally, I think we all agree, is that really the cover has to be very striking. And preferably, if you look at the models by FHM, preferably it's somebody who has not yet been exposed in that way or portrayed in a
Yes.
specific, in a sexier light, diba? But that's just an entry point. After that point, it starts becoming different. There's a certain humor and character that people like when they read FHM. There's a certain level of humor and certain level of sophistication for Esquire. For me, I like to think that the magazine which I represent, Uno, is something that straddles in between both of what they have. So that's what we mean when we say niching. We have different sets of readers who like to come in, but the common denominator is that you really have to have a good woman on the cover of the magazine.
Well, that's
Esquire doesn't have women all the time on the
that's
cover.
different. We're really doing well with our men. Our best-selling issues have been Manny V. Pangilinan, Juan Ponce Enrile, Ramon Ang. So for us, the niching comes into play there. There's just so much we can do. We're just much more flexible than most men's
Is
magazines.
Esquire a man's magazine?
Yes, it's yes.
Okay.
That's why we put men that men like
Okay.
on the cover. I mean,
Aspirational.
aspirational, definitely. Men we want to become, men we emulate, men we look at as role models.
Who's the best-selling magazine? You want to talk about that? FHM?
No,
it's
it's
FHM. There's
Well,
there's
we've
the
been-
elephant in the
No,
room.
just the print run alone.
We've been
of
around
FHM.
for
How long?
going on our 13th year.
13th year?
Yeah, so we started in 2000. So
Was it difficult at the start?
well, that's why I would like to say it's the best time to be in a men's magazine now. 13 years ago, it wasn't because the rules were not because men's magazine then were considered a taboo, especially what we're doing, what we did then, and what we're doing now. We're still doing now. We were just pushing the envelope. So we had the sexy cover. We had articles that challenged some.
You still do?
Yeah, we had articles that challenged. Period. So in the beginning, there were really reactions that were sometimes that ended up in court. So
Talaga? You still have those now?
there was a recent. No, it's not a recent suit, but it's an ongoing thing with Congressman Abante. It has to do with the obscenity issue, which is what a magazine like us would usually have to tackle on issues on obscenity and nudity and things like that. So
You can't make everyone happy, obviously.
Well,
But
we try.
You try?
We try to be.
Esquire, at least Esquire. They put
Yeah.
men on covers.
Yeah, we try to make
And
everyone
they sell.
happy.
But have you ever had a man on the cover? FHM?
oh yes, we do every year.
Talaga? Like who?
Every September, we have a men's fashion issue. We call it
okay.
FHM Collection.
What are the
I
top
would-
things
I would
men
think-
want to talk about in men's magazines? In your magazine, Erwin?
Well, for us, for our magazine, we're politics, business,
All right.
and of course women. How to attract women.
Okay.
Well,
RJ.
aside from, of course, having the woman on the cover and talking about her
Yeah, yeah.
extensively
Content
inside.
naman tayo ngayon, content.
What actually people like to do is a lot of them are tech reviews. A lot of them apparently like tech. It doesn't really matter what tech, but they like
Correct.
simple tech, not very difficult. I mean, entry level, like if I get a new cell phone or a new iPad or whatever, they like that type.
Tech is sexy.
Yes, tech is what men like to read.
Yeah.
And the next one is the other one I would say that they also like is travel, and travel
Alright.
it's more travel is traveling on a specific budget, giving them travel tips on where to go.
Right.
These things also play out very prominently.
Alright.
And one that we've been seeing coming out recently is hobbies. Lot
Lifestyle.
to bring out the man child in everybody. Like somebody's got a
Right.
specific hobby, whether it be action figures, collecting sneakers. Every man has a certain obsession that he wants to pursue, and sometimes people want to peek into what do you specialize in, because each one of us have our own little quirks and obsessions, and people want sometimes we like parang payabangan na yan. This is my comic book collection, or this is
Sila
my
Alan,
whatever.
sila ang pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Up to now?
Well, we'd like to-
how
we'd
many
like to
nipples can you
believe-
show?
Well, we do self-policing, and one is enough.
Okay, one nipple.
Two is pushing it up. Sometimes
Why?
it can be pushing it
Is there
too
a law?
far.
Or is there a rule?
I think it's the MTRC
Yeah,
ruling.
we've been following an old MTRCB rule, so it's a movie rule
Yeah.
that says you can only show one nipple. But then again,
Doesn't matter the size of the nipple, just as long as it's one nipple.
I mean, that's what the
Really,
rule
yeah?
says.
But
then
there's no
again,
rule.
But
There's
then
no
again,
written
but then
rule.
there
Except
really is
for the
no clear-cut
RCB
rule.
which doesn't cover you.
Right, right.
So this is really...
So the magazines, our magazine, and I think all of us will
Yeah.
will agree, is that we follow the rules of taste. So
All right.
But
one
it's
nipple,
funny,
two
with
nipples.
women's magazines I've seen women's magazines with two nipples.
Okay.
Local, so it's different. But men's magazines we're just different breed altogether. If we show nipples, we're obscene, but women's magazines will be able to show them.
And here, let me throw in another fact that comes into play when
Sige.
they've run the studies on the industry. Is that actually there's a 60-40 readership for men's magazines. That 60% who read men's magazines are men, but there are 40%
Yeah.
who are women reading these men's magazines as well.
Because women want to benchmark. Saan ba yun?
Sometimes they
I
want
don't
to
know,
benchmark.
but I know a lot of
Girlfriends
women
buy
read FHM.
their boyfriends the magazine. The girlfriends and the wives buy the boyfriends and husbands. So girlfriends, and that's how.
They
that's,
buy the magazines for them?
Yeah, that's how it happens for us. Before,
Talaga?
what we usually receive letters from wives and girlfriends who say that in the beginning they didn't like their boyfriends or husbands to read FHM, but then when they saw the magazine and read through it, they find that it's really not that obscene at all. So they end up
Okay.
buying the magazine for their partners.
Yeah.
The
That's very
OFWs, for
interesting.
example, the men who work abroad, their wives, girlfriends would buy the magazine and then bring it, mail it to the.
So the taboo isn't really taboo anymore.
Right now,
Right now, so-
it's,
Yeah, not anymore. But because FHM was a pioneer, so that's why they broke all the taboos and they laid the groundwork for the rest of us
So
to
you
come along.
don't get too much heat for FHM anymore for
no,
what you do.
not right now.
I guess right now the bigger challenge right now is what's the new taboo. I'm serious. I mean,
but I
for
guess
me,
it's-
Well, someone's gonna come out and say, mas matapang ako sa FHM.
No, but I guess it's the climate as well. I mean, it's more. I mean, you see the administration's more, a little more young. You know, this president reads FHM.
yeah, that's
I hope it does.
No.
so that's where all the collectibles went.
So that's it. So I guess if in a previous administration, previous climate, there may be a moral terror about it. Then the rise of what was it? Abad? Oh,
The Abante.
Abante. Oh yeah, rise of those kind of politicians. Then you will find a scare.
Is it the administration or is it just the world is changing?
Yeah, the world is changing, but it can always change back.
Right.
So it's no means of progress would just be.
But in terms of trajectory, you're seeing that the world is changing for the better for your industry.
Well, but I think what's changing our industry a lot, even in it impacts across, is I think the development of social media is what's changing, because feedback is faster.
I was going to go there and gap 2.
Yeah, but too late. We're so fast. We came in gap 1.
Yeah,
we went there.
go. Okay,
No, but I
social
mean,
media,
basically,
yeah.
social media, the pictures get sent around faster. They're more viral. Any feedback that you have on a cover, anybody whom you want, do they like this? Do they not like this one? The feedback is almost instantaneous. Comes back to you. Then you
There's also
fix
one
things
thing.
up.
I'd like to go back to the issue of taste. No? What has happened with FHM in the 13 years that it's been out there is that our readers' tastes in women are changing.
Are your readers changing?
Yeah, in 2003 or 2004, the hottest women were the Viva Hot Babes. These were the bombshells. These had the the biggest assets out there.
Yeah.
3 years later,
Okay.
the taste the top women in our list was Angel Locsin and Katrina Halili. These are the younger women
Okay.
you see on TV,
All right.
not really bombshells.
All right.
And then 2 or 3 years later, you have Sam Pinto being number 1. She's a model. She's a waif, very a thin woman, not really gifted in
Gifted many different ways.
yeah, gifted in different ways, right?
Different ways.
So
Yeah.
you see that their tastes in women are changing, and so the magazine has changed with them. So what FHM looks right now is so different from what it looked like in.
Are the tastes changing
2003.
or is the market changing? I mean, the people who bought your magazine 13 years ago are the same core market that are still
Well,
buying
right
your
now
magazine?
we've had to address both the market that we had 13 years ago
and the new market.
and the new market.
Who's
now. So
buying more?
I would think so. Yes. So we have
Who's
to
buying more?
address.
The older or the new?
I think the younger ones are starting to
So
dictate
the new market.
Yeah, to dictate what the
Okay.
content.
So the tastes reflect the tastes of
Yes.
the younger market today.
And the needs.
Erwin?
The needs. I mean, for Esquire, since we put men on the cover, we've noticed that a lot of men want to dress up better now. They
Yeah.
want to know how to,
Metrosexual.
Well, it's just the classic Cary Grant.
Ganon.
To know the rules.
Going back to basics.
Yeah, go back to basics. What we're trying to do is the older men. We're trying to make them dress a little. Try new adventures with their outfits, and for the younger men to appreciate the classics.
Very interesting.
And
Very
that also
interesting.
has to do with age groups, I guess, because the things when you look across, FHM really has, because of its wide distribution and what's established itself, it really has to cater to a larger
Right.
market
Right.
when it comes to the type of material and topics which they cover. Like for us, when we start doing niching,
Yeah.
particularly for mine, is we've been looking at the mid-20s up to mid-30s. So we look at what is interesting for them, because my background is really more brand marketing than
Okay.
editorial. So mine was to look at them.
All
What
right.
are they looking at?
Hold that thought.
and
Hold
then
that
bring
thought.
it
We're
here.
going to take a short break. We'll be back. News Cafe will talk to the gentlemen of the men's magazines when we come back. Still watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel, and we're still joined by our friends. RJ, eto na, Gap 2, social media. How has social media impacted your magazine?
Well, I think the thing that has impacted all of us is really to take a look at the content and say, okay, this is the content of Uno, this is the content of FHM and Esquire. Now, what is your delivery platform? I mean, that's how, for me, basically how it changed things. That meant that you no longer just look at the magazine as your only content delivery platform for the content which you develop. That means that when you develop nowadays, you have to keep in mind that there's a website which is because right now we look at two ways. A website, when you go online, website is archival, but a Facebook is your interactive page now, because that's
Right.
where you talk to the people you
Right.
like. Our website's more archival because people just look at the pictures from every now and then. And then the super interaction happens in things like Twitter. So when you're delivering the message nowadays, when you're delivering the content, you can't just look anymore at as the magazine as purely the only way that you deliver things. You have to deliver things many different ways, which also include things like on the iPad.
You don't see your magazines migrating into purely digital form.
No, I
I
don't see that.
No.
People want to hold
Yes,
book paper. in
it's
their
like
hand.
a coffee table book every month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
But from RJ, we're a little different because Esquire, we've got core values, which is intelligent journalism, writing
Right.
is always, so no matter what happens in social media, we will never,
Correct.
that's our core, long form journalism, that's what we do.
Long-form journalism is not too easy to find in the Philippines. People who can write really well.
Yes.
No? And how do you get by?
Oh, well, we have a great stable of writers.
Okay.
I mean, we have 6 writers at large who are all very capable, and I've worked with them several times before. They're very award-winning. So I always work with them. And I always constantly find new journalists to work with.
Is it difficult coming out of the magazine that's US-based?
No, not really, because Esquire is for men, and men are everywhere.
Okay. But in terms of operations?
Operations, oh
You were
yes.
telling me a little while ago that
Well,
you haven't slept for 2.5 years.
No, I haven't suffered. No, because every page of Esquire Philippines is still approved by the Hearst office
Okay.
in New York.
All right.
So
What do they like and what don't they like?
well, I think they just don't know, because we put a lot of local content.
Uh-oh.
We're one of the few Esquire
That are allowed to
franchises.
do that.
Yeah, that do that actually.
Okay.
Like FHM actually, it's almost all local content.
Uh-oh.
So they need explaining why, who is this, why are you doing this, why is this pertinent to your market?
They like it so far?
Huh?
They like it so far? Philippine content?
Exactly, yeah. I think.
Do they find our women beautiful? They should. Because they are.
They are. And Esquire, the other Esquires, we have 25 Esquires around the world.
Yeah.
And they've picked up our women and our features for
the other
several
issues.
countries, yes.
Whoa.
I mean,
Siyempre,
that
Filipino.
issue itself, it was picked up by...
Okay, this issue, that's
yeah,
right.
it was 5 Esquire editions, if I'm not mistaken.
Solen Youssef.
Yes, Solen
This is
Youssef.
the February.
That was February.
edition.
Yeah.
One of the best-selling copies.
Oh yeah,
editions?
yeah. That and well, every issue is different. Well, Heart
Okay.
Evangelista was our May issue.
Who's better selling, Solen Youssef or Manny Pangilinan?
You know, I have to look at the numbers for that. I have to look at that.
No, that's a legitimate question.
It's a legitimate question, yeah. But that's why I have to look at the numbers.
Yeah, all right. Off the cuff, no? Manny?
Off the cuff, I guess. Manny did very well.
Tao si Alan, no? Hindi niya makita yun, no? FHM, if you're going to change your magazine, how are you going to change it?
I would want to make it more humorous than it already is. I just want it to be more, more left field and
All right.
more edgy.
Why?
Because I personally like to read
Okay.
funny articles.
And you think your taste reflects that of your new market? Ganun ba?
Well, I would have to go back to writing as as a pleasure in itself.
Alright.
Good writing has always been about crisp
It always
writing.
sells.
It always sells.
Yeah.
So it's harder to write witty articles than it is to just to state the facts. So I would say that if FHM becomes funnier, it's also smarter, and it's.
Obviously, advertisers buy into men's magazines. Is it a hard sell?
No, like I said again, it depends on the niche that you want to create. I mean,
Right.
it all goes back to the marketing of, or what you establish as the brand identity of the magazine. Whether it's for example, if it's a tech magazine, obviously it's going to be some technology ads, di ba?
Right.
At car magazine, car ads. So
Right.
men's magazines, the difference lang here is that when you niche as to what's the feel of the magazine when they see it, then
Yeah.
then you know what type of advertisers to target. For example, we've seen great ads coming out from the Esquire group, and you see that they're very great fashionable men's brands which are there.
Yeah, let's take a look. There's Samsung, there's Astoria, there's Y3, there's international brands and local brands. FHM, let's
And take a look at the.
There's
You're,
Adidas.
you're looking too long at some pictures.
Milano.
Yeah.
Yeah, the men's pictures.
Yeah.
Welder.
No, so you'll notice that there's a difference in the brands. I mean, you'll notice also that it caters specifically to the market. So this one, there's a
Right.
tighter A market for, let's say,
Yeah.
Esquire. So they've got those
More
type of brands.
institutional?
I wouldn't say institutional. I would say more classic brands.
More classic brands.
Yeah, classic
all right,
brands.
All right.
Institutional sounds too clinical.
Okay, ako lang yun. That's just me. Uno, what about Uno?
Well, the brands that we're getting mostly right now are those that are within the I would say a B range, if you look at the social demographic or socio-economic range, because we know that the people who purchase our magazines are, for example, let's say middle managers or people who've made their way up in the world.
Yeah.
These weren't people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They're people who've gone to college, gone up maybe they're 5 to 10 years in working, so they've got some extra money to spend, but they're not too wealthy to spend that much. So we know that there are core brands which cater to them in terms of fashion, in terms of technology. So we get a lot of, let's say, for example, credit card types or loans type, because these are the ones who also have been catered to in the past. So it's a tie between these are the type of people who read it, what are the type of interests that they have, what are the advertisers who also match this one. So for me, it's lining these things up. So that
Are there people that are still saying that you guys are objectifying women?
No.
No? Really? No, not to your face, behind your back, yes. No more? No? You don't get that?
I personally, Esquire has not gotten that.
All right. What about FHM?
Well,
Siguro mas sila.
Yeah,
No?
we've been hit with that question
All the
very
time.
often, yeah.
No.
And we always say that no, we don't objectify women. We celebrate women. And if you ask Pops Fernandez, for example, or Dina Bonavie, for example, these are powerful women.
Yeah.
These are women who know who they are.
Yeah.
They would tell you that they agreed to do a cover on FHM because they want to tell other women that you can do this, you can be like me. I know what I want, and I know how to get it, and FHM is.
Do you do FGDs for your magazines?
Well, I don't. We don't.
We have.
I mean,
You have?
Yeah, we
What
have.
kind of questions do you ask?
No, we ask basically same thing. Basically, what do they like? What are the trends? Who'd you like to see on the cover? What do you like to read? These type of things. But that's just because that's my own orientation. Like I said, I come from a brand management
Right.
perspective and coming into the magazine. So I like to marry both disciplines.
Facebook does that for us now. We have 1 million likes, over 1 million likes in Facebook. We have a population. We have a small city.
You have an entire city right there.
We have an entire city on Facebook. So it's whenever we come out with a cover, the reactions are there, and
Pwede na kayo mag-party list, bro.
Pwede na.
Tatlong party list pa yan.
Oh, sino marginalized? How do you validate the 1 million people? How do you know what they want, what they don't want?
Well, we have a dedicated web team who really monitors activities in Facebook. They give us feedback.
You're sniffing for reactions.
Yeah, they give us feedback, and we just try to wade through all the opinions and whether they're valid or they're just trolling. So we just try to get a trend, a feel of things.
Are there any unique characteristics for the Filipino magazine reader, for the male magazine reader in the Philippines, for your magazine? Or like you said, you have 25 versions of Esquire all over the world. What's unique for the Filipino?
What's more interesting for me is what's similar, actually.
All right.
It's a global trend, basically. Men are really just getting more into presenting themselves better. So for our magazine, it's about the clothes now. It's really about style. It's knowing the basics of style. That's what's been unique. It's been a global phenomenon. Men want to know what the rules are to wear a suit. How to negotiate a cocktail party.
Yeah.
These things.
Who can pull it off and who can't?
Yes, yeah. And it's interesting what socks to wear with what pants.
For Uno.
What I find it more interesting nowadays is that as the disposable income increases, as people become more affluent in their own lives, they're mostly, because if you think of them, they're mostly either from the office, they're single, maybe they work in a call center or in a bank, but they've got more money for themselves. Is that since they own their own money now, hobbies are becoming bigger things, where they can spend their own money. So that's why, not like before, where the topics really become, okay, where can I go travel? Because I've got some money now, or what hobby can I spend on right now? It's becoming a bigger thing. And then
Because of social media.
Yeah, social media too. So
It
the fashion
has made everyone more global citizens.
Right.
It's very interesting now. So the topics can be a bit more it's
not
like
insular.
Yeah, they're like, I want to travel here now, because nowadays you didn't know where to travel, but now people are all sharing. I want to go, because now you want to travel more now because you're reading about so much places, and this is what you want to cover. This is what you want to talk about.
DOT said 2 years ago that local airline seat sales were around 11 million. Last year it was around 50 million.
Wow.
So yeah, you're right. People are going around. And is that your market, FHM?
Oh yes, yeah. Our younger market, they're the ones who are always out there vacationing, putting their pictures on Facebook and Instagram.
Selfie, puro selfie.
Selfies, yeah, right. So,
So your markets are almost the same. Irwin has a different market.
Yeah, but I think what's common is our market all wants to have fun now.
Okay.
So that's the commonality there.
They want to spend.
Yeah, but
We wanna spend.
We want to spend. And the thing is, we all admit that everybody started from. If FHM didn't start,
Yeah.
we wouldn't actually be around right now.
Yeah,
So FHM kind of broke us in, and then many of them start to niche over there. But everybody starts off from FHM, so they will come back to FHM also as well.
Why not do an FHM? Why be something else?
Oh, we address a different need because we just don't say how to spend. How to
Right.
spend well.
Okay.
I mean, how to see quality as well.
How about Uno?
No, because they do a good. They address one need. We address the
Mahahati yung market.
No, because that's if you think of the market as a pie that doesn't grow. So there are many different needs.
Alright.
People can buy. People can say, "I like to read FHM. I also like to read Uno. I also like to read Esquire."
Yeah.
And then with the larger disposable income nowadays, the man can probably afford 3 of those magazines.
Actually, I read FHM. I read Men's Health.
Yeah.
I'm every month.
Digital copies of your magazines, how's that doing?
Maybe Alan would be better too.
well, we've started to produce
Yeah.
an exact digital.
Yeah. Are you in
Copy.
Zinyo, for example?
I think Summit has its own
I think
library.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
e-library.
EMAG, yeah. So it's basically the same thing. No? What you see in print is the same as in the digital magazine,
Yeah.
except I think the rules of selling it are different. So we're still trying to feel our way through the.
Is that a different market?
No, what we find in our market is that they do download the iPad copy,
Yeah.
but they still buy the physical copy.
So,
No, but like for example, for myself, when we started doing that about 2 years ago, just as an experiment, and what we were finding from the numbers is that who were downloading from us were not the locals, but rather those the Filipinos
the
based
guys who don't
abroad.
have access.
Yeah, the people based abroad. They want to see lang how
Right.
because they don't maybe suwana sila sa mga foreign versions of men's magazines. They want to see their local women. They want to
Yeah.
see some local topics. So that's why they're also actually pick it
All
up.
right. I'm being given a thumbs up. So, one last pitch for your magazine, FHM.
Well, in July, FHM will have its 100 sexiest list. So every year for the last 13 years, it's always been the year zero of our magazine. So
I asked for a last statement and he hits you with a 100 sexiest list.
Yeah.
Paano naman sila? Okay, all right. Uno.
No, we're going to be featuring our calendar of 18 women coming out very soon. And also you'll be seeing in the
A real
magazine.
calendar?
Yes, calendar.
Oh, all right. In the middle of the year?
Well, no, we were preparing for well, it's always good to see girls in a calendar, right? So, but more importantly, we're coming out with women who've actually never come out before in men's
All right.
magazines in the past, and we're really going for the idea that or smart or funny is sexy. So that's a general slant. So you'll be seeing a lot of girls coming out who embody that character and whose pictorials will also be an epitome.
You guys
of
are
what we're
talking
trying to
about
describe.
fun. Alan was talking about fun a little while ago.
he is too. I think that's the way it's
Way to go.
been
Magazine?
going.
Yeah.
Fun is multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's enough fun to go around all three.
For Esquire, well,
For July, we're doing our How to Be a Man issue, which is a signature issue for every Esquire edition.
all right.
And it's got a lot of topics. It's the politics, the business. It also has a good guide, which has how to be a man when things go wrong. When you find out your teenage daughter is pregnant.
Okay.
When your wife leaves you.
All right.
When you're offered $1 million.
Sakit naman.
I mean, the good stuff.
Yeah, well, you're still left to yourself, so you better do something
Yeah, but
about
so
it.
how to be a man is everything you need to be a man. It's really a manual of how to be a man in this day and age.
Yeah, good talking to you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Let's
so
do
much
this
for
again.
inviting. Oh, yeah.
Let's do this
Thanks,
again.
thanks.
Short time, unfortunately. That's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank our guests, Erwin Romulo, RJ Ledesma, Alan Hernandez, for being with me tonight. Thanks for joining us too.